Alrighty, so this will be our last video for this chapter. We just have a couple more things. We're going to talk about string splitting and repetition operators. So obviously with strings we can do different repetition functionalities. Essentially the repetition operator, just like a list, simply makes multiple copies of a string and joins them together. Just like we could use a list and then multiply that times some n or some number, and then the list will be multiplied by that amount. It'll just simply repeat it multiple times. You have the same repetition operator with a string. So essentially you have a string to copy and you can multiply that times as many times as you want. Okay, so this could be really, really useful if you wanted to build some sort of a long string of some certain length, but you don't want to type a bunch of information. You can just go ahead and string that. You can just create a string that has and multiply it by some n and create something big there. Okay, so again, the repetition operator is the time symbol, which is the little star. Just like the concatenation symbol is the plus, the repetition operator is that multiplication sign. Okay, so you can play with that on your time. I probably won't cover that. You can just get a string, multiply it times some number, and it'll wear that out, or it'll sort of expand that out. The last thing that I'm going to demonstrate to you is something that's very, very, very extremely useful, especially in terms of data analytics, and that is the split method. So essentially, we can use this split method to split up strings by some character, right? The character is what we usually call a delimiter, and you're going to see that here shortly. And the things that we split it up into are called tokens. So we can use this split method to return a list containing the words in the string, or some set of things in the string, right? It doesn't have to be just the words. I can split it at the every lowercase o. I can split it at every comma. I can split it at every semicolon. Whatever. It's just a list of those quote-unquote tokens in the string. Now, normally when you use the split method, the default is to use the space. Okay, so if we use this the string.split method and don't put anything in the parentheses, it will default to a space. Okay, so if you use the split without any sort of an argument, it's going to return a list containing the words in the string, so long as those words are split by spaces. Okay, so again, you can also delineate different separators, and those separators don't have to be a single character. They can be a whole word. So let's say I have this and this and this and this. I can use and as a delimiter or a sort of a substring, and then it'll go ahead and just pull those ands out and split it at those words. Okay, so that's sort of what that splitting of a string is. And note that it returns a list. So it will convert it into a list that you can then access. Okay, so here's an example. We have a my string 1, 2, 3, 4. If I use string.split without a single argument, with no arguments at all, what it's going to do is it's going to default to a space, and it's going to convert that into a list. Now notice it gets rid of the delimiter. Okay, that's an important thing to remember. It gets rid of the delimiters. So I'm using this as a space, essentially. So it's going to pull the space out and then make a break between these two things. So the result is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now we can also use this slash. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We use a slash so that it pulls the slash out and then separates it between those. Okay. So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, with a little bit of terminology, as I've already kind of apprised you with earlier, we have some different terms here when we talk about splitting things up, and you're going to be using these a lot in data analysis. Okay, so we have tokens and delimiters. Okay, so essentially, sometimes a string contains some sort of a substring or something that's separated by a special character. For instance, we use comma separated value files, right? CSV. So we can actually use the .split functionality and use that comma as what we call a delimiter, which is a substrings are known as tokens, and the separating characters are delimiters. So we can use the comma as the delimiter to get the information out of a CSV using the split function. So I can open a CSV, I can read a line, and then I can use the line.split with a comma to break that into its tokens. Okay? So in the example that we see here, we have peach, raspberry, strawberry, vanilla. So the string, obviously we have substrings, peach, raspberry, strawberry, vanilla, and they're separated by the space character. The space is the delimiter, and the fruits here are the tokens. Okay, so this is a token, this is a token, this is a token, and this is a token. This is delimiter, this is a delimiter, and this is a delimiter. Okay, so that's sort of how we talk about these things. So again, here we could see something differently. We have a delimiter of semicolon, 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 semicolon. Okay, so those are all delimiters, and these are all tokens. Okay, so to go ahead and show you that, we're going to draw this over here, and we're going to go ahead and play around with this. So let's imagine that we know how to open files, right? So let's just imagine that we have a line, and that line is something off of a CSV, and it reads something like this. I don't know what these numbers mean, but they are some sort of a thing. Okay, so I have this line coming in off a CSV. This is what we would call a record. Okay, I have a field, a field, a field, a field, and another field, and those fields comprise a single record. And apparently that record is associated with me. Now, if we're looking at this as a CSV, what we have is we have comma separated values. Okay, so if we're to think about this, we have a token here, a token here, a token here, a token here, and a token here. And I have a delimiter of commas. Okay, so if I want to get that into a list, what I can do is I can call it record, and then I can just take line.split, and I can define that I want to split it at a comma. Okay, so now what we're going to have when we print this out is we're going to have this really nice list of all that data. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and run this, and now you can see based on that split, I now have the ability to iterate through that and do any analysis, right? So for data in record, then I can go ahead and print each data point. Okay, so now I have converted that from a string into a list that I can now iterate and do conditional information on, right? And what's cool is I can actually do that on multiple lines as I'm sort of iterating through a CSV file. So just to demonstrate that with a few more minutes, let's go ahead and create a new file. We're going to call this data.csv, and in this CSV, what we're going to do, we're going to eliminate, just don't worry about that. So we're going to do something like this. Adam, Bob. I don't even know what these mean. I'm just making stuff up. Okay. John. Okay, so I'm just making a CSV that we can open up and we can mess around with. Okay, so that's now sort of saved. It's in this same directory, so I can go ahead and open that. So if we really think about it, we know that we can create a file using the open function, right? Okay, now if I give it a name, which is data.csv, and we're just going to go ahead and read that. Okay, so I have F, so now I can do for line in F. Okay, so just to make sure that this is all working, because it's always good to do this iteratively, let's go ahead and make sure that we're opening up and everything is working. And there we go. For line in F, we actually get that. So I now know that I have this data in line. Okay? So let's go ahead and convert that into a record. So line.split, and then we're going to separate that at commas. Now, we're going to go ahead and run this again and see if anything goes wrong. Okay? Everything seems to work. Everything is good. Let's go ahead and print that record out. And there we go. We have now converted it. But I want you to notice we have the /n in there, right? So what we can do is if we have to iterate through this, we can actually make sure that we, on that last one, get rid of any data, right? So if I do print record dot replace, okay, so now I can use a replace functionality. Well, and actually, we're not doing record dot. Actually, we should just iterate through it. So just to make this easy, so we're going to go for data in record. So if we print this, we're going to see the same sort of thing, right? We're going to see a /n when we run this. Okay, and those new lines now actually disappear whenever we're running that. So it's not that big of a deal whenever we're messing around with that. So, but if we want to, we can actually do a replace functionality and get rid of that /n, okay, to make sure that it doesn't show up when we're messing with it, okay? Oh, and actually, sorry, on replace, we want to make sure that we replace it with nothing. All right, so no more /n. See how that went away? Okay, so what that means is now I have a clean bit of information that I could convert to an integer if I need to, right? Okay, so I can actually open that up, go through it, iterate it, and I can find information there. So what I can do is I can maybe call this clean or something. So it's cleaned data, it's all clean. So now I can say if we're going to search for Adam, and we'll make that lowercase, right? In clean, then we can print found. Okay, so I'm able to sort of parse all this stuff out. So I open this file, I iterate through each line, I split it at a comma so I have everything there, and then every time I go through, I clean that out to get rid of the new line, and then I can actually do conditional execution to determine whether or not I find this thing. Okay, so what's interesting is, and obviously you should know I need to lower this. Okay, so there we go, found. Okay, so I've officially created this search situation to where I can actually search a file for some data. And now if I want to do that, I can do search equals input, please enter word to search. Okay, so now they have that, so I can actually do if search.lower is in clean.lower, then we can say found, right? Okay, so I can do this, please enter Adam. And there we go, it was found. So let's go ahead and look for Bob. Let's see if that's in there. Oops, sorry, Bob. And it was found. Let's try lowercase Bob. It was found. Let's try all caps Adam. And it was found. Even though this is Adam, I'm converting everything to lowers to make sure that I can actually find the word in there. Okay, so that is the string.split method. Very, very, very useful in terms of splitting everything up. You also have the replace and the lower that's also extremely important to sort of data parsing, understanding the tokenizations and the delimiters as well. I would encourage you to go just play with this as much as you possibly can, because when you're doing data analysis, this is going to be a huge part of what it is that you are doing, just messing with strings, being able to split them out, being able to convert them, being able to analyze them, all this sort of information. So that is the end of this particular chapter. So I hope you enjoyed part of this. If you have any troubles, please get a hold of me, and I can definitely help you out.